Hi, I'm Pagan.
And I'm Spencer.
And welcome to the Magical Girls podcast. So,
Yay!
this episode, we're going to be talking about Harry Potter, magical girls, and all things witchy. But first, let's tell you about who we are. So, my name is Pagan, and this is Spencer, and we are both authors. So, I write fantasy and romance, and I've written the Ryan Rupert series, only book one, and that's published, or it's being re-released. And then I'm also writing the Starlight Chronicles series, which is going to be released next year with the Parliament House.
Oh my gosh, you're so eloquent. Put me to shame. Well, I'm Spencer, and I write a lot of magical realism. So my book series is called the Magical Girl series, and I am so nervous. This is so weird. What are words? I don't know how to.
You're doing all right.
Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. It's so awful. Okay, so this is why I don't ever do videos or talking or whatever, because I need time to think about what I'm gonna say.
Oh, me too. So this is our pilot episode, so just ignore us if we go off.
So anyways, aside from writing the Magical Girl series, which is a magical realism series, with a ton of romance and fun stuff and some sad stuff, because feel-good sad is my aesthetic. I also do a lot of content creation for local businesses, and I write for a video game company, but that's secret squirrel stuff because I signed an NDA.
Oh. Now everyone wants to hear more about that. It's a fun job though.
It is. It's super fun, and I love the production team I work with. They're so nice.
Oh. Okay, so let's move on to topic one, which is witchy books. So we're going to be talking about some of our favourite witchy books, and in case you haven't read any witchy books, you really should, because they are freaking fantastic. And one of my favourite things, and I know that Spencer has a few favourites as well. So to start off, Spencer's going to talk about her favourite witchy book, which is Echo of the Witch, which I have yet to read, and I'm very excited to do so. But tell us more about it.
Okay, so honestly, I won't be able to do this justice because I read this book about 2 or 3 years ago, originally on Swoon Reads, and it's written by Jen Wild, published through Limitless Publishing. Nerves! Okay, so Jen Wild, she's a pretty famous author. You've probably heard of her. She wrote Queens of Geek.
Yes.
Yes.
Everyone always talks about that.
I'm just obsessed with her writing. She's just the nicest person.
She sounds like a really great person.
Back to Echo of the Witch. So when I first read it, I was floored. It's like, I don't want anyone to come at me with like pitchforks or anything. It's everything I wanted from Harry Potter.
Oh yes, we're gonna get into that.
I mean, it's so good. It's so touching. The main character's name is Echo, and
that's such a cool name.
It is. It's such a cool name. But I mean, Jen's just really good at coming up with character names that like connect with you.
I haven't actually read Queens of Geek, so
I haven't either. But I read her other books. I read the Ava series, which is set in Australia. So if you like zombie and Australia, can't go wrong.
In case our listeners didn't know, Spencer is from the US and I'm from Australia. So when I hear that there are books from Australia, that makes me very excited.
Yeah, so Echo she wants to be, a regular, ordinary 18-year-old girl. She works in a bookstore, which is very close to my heart. And there are these creatures called Shriekers that...
Shriekers?
I guess I don't want to mess this up because it's been like 2 years since I read the book. But basically, they hunt witches or magical creatures. And I'm just bombing here, but it's such a good book. Like, I know I'm doing a terrible job synopsizing it, but I cried, and it was just so good. I mean, the underlying message of love and friendship and sisterhood, it's more than I could have. It's everything. It's everything. That's what it is.
So if Harry Potter didn't do it for you, just like go and read this one instead. Or even if Harry Potter did do it for you, this one probably would be better. Oh god, they're gonna come for us.
Yeah, please don't come for us. We're innocent.
Oh well, I'd say give this book a shot, because I'm going to when I finally get through everything on my TBR. It's on my TBR, so I can't wait to read it.
And it's only $3.99 as an ebook, so it's a great deal.
Bargain. That's so good. Alrighty, I'm going to talk about my favorite witchy book, which is The Bone Witch by, I hope I don't butcher this, it's Rin Chupeco, like Chupeco. I'm so sorry. I'm like, she's interacted with me on Twitter, so if she ever listens to this, I am so sorry. But okay, so first of all, I want to say that this book got sort of, it didn't get like bad reviews, but it got a lot of 3-star reviews. So not really great, but not really terrible. And the reason was that this book was to some people it was too slow. The world building was like too much, and it just dragged on for some people. But I personally thought it was perfect. I didn't find that to be a problem at all. And when I read it, I really loved the whole world building thing. I thought it was amazing. So the main character's name is T, or Taya. It's Taya, but I call her T because that's how it's spelled. And you can already see why that's my favorite thing, because I love tea. Right.
As soon as I think tea, I think Pagan.
So the Bone Witch, I kind of described it as a southeastern Skyrim, which if you've played Skyrim, you'll know that that's like all medieval and very fun. But it's got these, it's hard to explain. So like, it's got people who have a heart glass, and the heart glass sort of controls, I can't remember exactly, it's like emotions and like, I don't know, it's sort of something that everyone has, and everyone has a different one. And if they have powers, everyone looks different. But some people, they're like these outcasted, very rare witches who have a really dark heart glass, I think it was, I can't remember. But T, or Taya, is one of them. And she's like, she can like do necromancy and stuff, which is like taboo. It's not looked upon very well, but she's one of the only people who can actually like save people from these monsters, and everyone just looks down on her and puts her down, and she's like always gone through hardship her whole life as she grows up, which is so sad. And they have these amazing things called these I hope I don't butcher this, like these huas, I think they're called, but they're like kimonos. Well, not exactly like kimonos, but that's the best way I can describe them. They're like Asian clothing, but like really traditional, like really pretty.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and everyone has their own style that they get made, and if you try and copy your style, or if you wear someone else's hua, then it's like a really big offense. It's really taboo, so you can't do that. And everyone has to look really pretty, like kind of like geisha. Is that how you say it? Like geisha? Like those people?
Sounds right to me.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like that, and yeah, it's just like, it's a really good book. And I just got the second one, which Rin sent to me, so because I won it in a giveaway, so I'm like really excited to read it, but I haven't done that yet because I've been reading other things.
Okay, well, I know you flipped out when you were chosen as a recipient, and then again when you received it, it was second Christmas.
I know, I was like, oh my gosh, I got it, and it's a hard copy, because it's so expensive to get hard copies over here in Australia. We don't even have them in the bookstores unless it's like a really big book, like a John Green book.
Oh.
Yeah, so when we get them sent, because it's so expensive, it's like, I definitely do not take that lightly. It must have cost her a fortune to send it over here, so I'm really thankful. Oh, and it was signed. I didn't even know, I forgot to say that. I didn't even notice that it was signed. I had it next to me all day, and I didn't think to look inside, and then I went to look inside, and it was signed, and I was like, oh! So it was like, again, Christmas. Okay, so that's my favourite witchy book. Another thing I wanted to talk about, words, to talk about was there's a favourite TV show that I have called Witches of the East End, and that's based on a book series. And it was honestly so good, but they cancelled it before it made it to season 3, and they left it on this massive cliffhanger, so I'm always going to be mad about that. But,
oh no!
Yeah, apparently people say that the TV show is better than the book, which is very rare, but I haven't read the books, I've only seen the TV show, but it was really good. It was just like, there were these 2 witches, and then their mum was a witch, and the mother's curse was that her children would always die before they reached 30 or something like that, and they would always get reborn. So, yeah, it was just a bit... It was good, though. And then the aunt was... She can turn into a cat. Like, she has 9 lives.
Oh, nice!
Yeah. And then, like, she used up her 9th life, and I don't want to spoil anything, but... Because we didn't get to see what happened, because they didn't
finish it. Oh man, that's exactly how I felt about Constantine. Like, I loved the Constantine television show, and they just didn't give it a chance. But I don't even think they finished the season.
Oh my gosh, that's even worse. Like, at least give us something.
I know. Let's wrap up the first season. Let me like close some wounds, you know?
Oh, I hate it when they do that. So, what other witchy books do you like?
You know, I can't think of any offhand because for a long time I was really into mystery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then I sort of made this seg into like young adult, and I was really into vampire books.
Oh, I love vampire books. I'm really into those as well. I read so many vampire books.
So, I guess if there are witches in the vampire books, then I'm into it.
Yeah, you know, the Vampire Diaries has witches in it, or like they have a pretty big.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. And L.J. Smith is just. I know this is gonna sound so generic because I just said this about Jen, but L.J. Smith is the nicest person ever.
I love the Vampire Diaries so much. I've like watched all 7 seasons twice now.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah. I was so into it.
I really, really love the books. Like, I was just so disappointed that they didn't make the books more of a... Well, the TV show more based off the books.
Yeah. Well, I haven't read the books. Like, that's something I gotta go do.
No, girl, you have to read the books because the later ones have, like, so much Japanese influence in them.
Oh, really?
I actually sent her an email, raving about it, and I was like, I love this so much. I love that you included my culture in it. Thank you so much.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
She actually wrote back to me, which basically I died on the spot.
As you do.
But she was so nice about it, and she basically said that she feels like her inclusion of the Japanese culture was one of the things that her publisher didn't approve of.
Oh, maybe that's why it wasn't in the TV series.
I think that might be it, and I think it was also a contributing factor as to why she was replaced with a ghostwriter later on.
Oh, that sucks.
It does, because I really liked it, and at the time when the books came out, there weren't a lot of books, if any, that I can think of off the top of my head that included a lot of Japanese culture.
Yeah, no, I struggle to think of it as well.
Yeah, so, and then I know she has friends and people who advised her on what she wrote in the book, so it's not like she was just blindly making stuff up or relying on Dr. Internet, YouTube and Google, yeah.
That's great. Like, we need more writers who do that. I feel like that's what's the word? I feel like that needs more recognition.
I think so, and she did it with a lot of respect to the culture.
Yeah. Well, and now I have to go read the books because that's changed everything.
Oh, you do? My gosh, I might just send you mine. Like, I just need you to read these.
I have to read them, especially because I've now watched the TV series twice. Like, I'm hooked. I'm in it. Well, I have a list of books that I love that are all witchy because I happen to read a lot of them. So, one of my all-time favorites, which is by Rachel Hawkins, is Hex Hall. That's so good. I don't think it's completely about witches. It's got vampires and other stuff in it, but it's like about it. What I like about it most is that it's funny. I really like humor books, and it's like a light-hearted, quick, easy read. I think I read the first 2 books in one night, and then I read the third book. Yeah, I read the third book after that. But the thing is that the third book was really lacking, which I really hated. It was like she was rushed to write it or something. But the first 2 were really good. So I really like that series. And it's just about this witch who has a lot of bad luck, and then she finds out that she's not really a witch, and no spoilers, but that's kind of why. And another book that I like, it's not entirely focused around witches, but it has witches in it, and that is Jinx. Oh no, not Jinx. Oh gosh, it's Spook by Jinx.
Oh,
oh, I don't know why I said Jinx. But yeah, because that has witches in it. It has vampires, it has ghosts, it has all your favorite things.
Okay, now I'm really embarrassed. Does this podcast have to see the light of day? Because Gigi is gonna hang me up by my toes for not recognizing her book and the fact that it has a witches in it.
Yeah, but we both love that book, so it's okay.
Okay, Gigi, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. Please don't hang me up by my toes.
And then there are some. I've read. There is another book called Jinx, which is about witches, but it's not really all that magical. It's like magical realism. It's by Meg Cabot. And then there are books on my TBR, which I have to read The Black Witch, and I've heard lots of bad things about that one, but I still want to read it. And also the Carl Hill Witch Chronicles. I've heard lots of good things about that one. And I've also read Life's a Witch by, I think it was Brittany Gregor. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. I can't remember the author's full name. But all I know is that I didn't like that one. That was a bad one. So, like, it wasn't entirely bad, but I just think maybe I was a bit above the teen drama in it. I don't know. I had a lot of things. I had a lot of thoughts on it, which I've done reviews on it, so if you're really that interested, you can go find those. But all I have to say is that there are better books than that series, but you could still go and read it. The other thing is that I'm pretty sure she was a Wattpad author, and that she self-published or got like a book deal. I don't really know, but like the first book, I think the first book was good, and then I think it just didn't quite work after that.
I think it's really hard when you have a really strong first book.
Yeah. And that's like one of my biggest fears, is that I'll write a book that's really good and then write a sequel that's really bad and just turns everyone off it. Like, that's happened so many times where I've read a sequel and I've gone like, I don't know if I want to keep reading the series. That happened with Cinder. But then I actually really liked book 3. But like that second book can really determine whether someone keeps reading or not, so it's really hard.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean, because as a reader, I always fall in love with the first book. And I just feel like I hold all the other books to that standard.
Yeah. That can make it very hard.
Definitely.
Alrighty. Do you have anything else to say about this first topic? Which we rambled a bit.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to finish this first topic with, you can tell us, if you're listening, what's your favourite witchy book, and then you hop on Twitter and use the hashtag MGAC podcast. I'll say it again. MGAC podcast. It stands for Magical Girls and Chill podcast. And just tell us what your favourite witchy book is, and we'll come and have a look. Alrighty, so let's move into topic number 2, which we're going to talk about Harry Potter, and we don't have very nice things to say about Harry Potter.
Wait. You need to. You can't just go in like that. They're going to come for us.
Okay, let's just get something out of the way really quickly. I do not have anything against Harry Potter. I even have a Harry Potter fanfiction, which is doing really well. So I will say that Harry Potter was one of my favourite childhood series, and I loved everything about it. My mum loves it. Everyone loves it. It's a really good written series. My problem more stems from J.K. Rowling, I think. So I have lots of thoughts on J.K. Rowling, which I'm going to get into. But first of all, let's talk about the game that recently came out, because that's a bit of a better segue into this. So I've been playing the game, as I'm sure a lot of you have been, and I really like it. I think it's really good, and I think that there are some ways it can be improved, but I know it's still like just released, so I think it's pretty good. So I also play a lot of Kim Kardashian Hollywood, and I think that's a really well-developed game. And one of the key differences that I noticed between the two is that they both use the same like tap and lose energy kind of thing when you complete missions, and you have to wait for the energy to refill.
Oh no, I hate those games.
Yeah, but like in the Harry Potter game, you can actually choose whether you want your classes to go for 1 hour, 3 hours, or 8 hours. You're not stuck having to do 8-hour gigs all the time. So I really like that option. Because it means like if you have to go out, you can complete something immediately, or if you know that you're going to come back at a certain time of the day, you can come back and check on it. So that's good. And I like that it has a really good story that you can progress through, and I don't like the clothing options, but again, it's only just been released, so maybe they'll improve those. But overall, I think it's really well done. So if you haven't checked that out, you definitely should, because I think it's definitely worthwhile. But this also leads into my other point, is where I think the problem where the stem of my problem with Harry Potter is that I feel like it's very overhyped, and I feel like J.K. Rowling really takes advantage of this. So looking at this from an author's standpoint, and maybe even from a reader's standpoint, because to give you an example, if you go on BookTube and you look at like really hyped up books, and like booktubers who are doing reviews on really hyped up books, you'll notice that like half of them will be for the book and they'll be raving about it and getting everyone excited, and then the other half will like immediately add it to a list that they're never going to read because they get so sick of hearing about it. And I feel like Harry Potter is so overhyped that I'm at a point where I don't want to hear about it anymore. And it's more because of the fact that, like, as an author and as someone who loves to find new books, I always see stuff about Harry Potter. If I jump onto Instagram and I look through like bookish accounts, I'll always see like Harry Potter books or anything. You okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have a frog in my throat. I think
that's okay.
I'm like dying here. I'm so nervous.
So yeah, I'll jump on Twitter and I'll see tweets about Harry Potter, and I'll jump on anywhere and I just always see merch and just like things about it, and then J.K. Rowling will jump on the bandwagon and she'll suddenly reveal something like, oh, the T in Voldemort is silent, and then everyone will just go crazy. Gosh. And then like all these articles come out. It's just like, you've had all your years of fame, and now they're doing it again with the Fantastic Beasts series. I feel like they just don't know when to sort of let something die, or not die, but like Harry Potter will always be a classic, but it's just like they just go on and on about it, and they don't allow room for other authors to emerge and grow the way that they could if you didn't always hype up Harry Potter and just like always cut in. I feel like she had 7 books to do all of her explaining. She really just, this is of course my own opinion, like I'm not saying she can't go on Twitter and say that the T is silent, but like really, like when you can't, what kind of person are you to reveal something like that after the whole 7 books have come out and people have been saying it the whole time? It's like
I think it's worse because it was in the movies too.
Yeah, it just seems ridiculous, but that's where I feel about it. I feel like it's just very overhyped. What are your thoughts?
Oh no, the pitchforks are pointing at me now. I think for the most part we share the same sentiment. I really liked Harry Potter growing up. It wasn't my favorite, and I think in all honesty, I can't call myself a Potterhead because I'm not super hardcore.
Yeah.
But it is something I enjoy. I went to the midnight release movies with my friends, and we had a blast.
I wish I could have done that. There were no midnight release things here.
It was so much fun. I think it was only fun because my friends were there, and they're hardcore Potterheads, so we're like right at the front of the line. We're like the first or second people in line. They brought snacks, they brought butterbeer, they had chairs and blankets. Everything. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel conflicted because there are times where I'm reading my own book and I'm like, darn it, why didn't I include that? Or, oh, this would have been a really good idea. So I understand why she sort of does these things, you know, when she does it for Pottermore or on Twitter or as a blog post or whatever. But it does, after some point, kind of seem like they're all afterthoughts and maybe not as planned out as she would like us to think.
Yeah. And like, I don't...
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like hate on Harry Potter at all, because like I said, it's really well done, and it's definitely, it deserves its place as a classic.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. It's just that when I see like other amazing authors out in the world, I'm not just talking about you and I trying to like, you know, become published authors. I'm talking about everyone else.
Right.
Like, there are so many authors that I know who I just think deserve a bit of a boost, and they just don't, because people don't want to. There's always the classics. There's always like the Hunger Games and Twilight, and you have to read all the classics first before you even expand. If you're like a new author, no, not a new author, a new reader.
Yeah.
It's like, but they don't give anyone else a chance, and that's kind of where it all stems from. And the other thing that I hate,
oh no, just real quick.
Yeah.
I also don't like how these classic books like Harry Potter have sort of become the standard.
Yeah.
So anytime anything else comes out, it's the new Harry Potter. No, it's not. It's not the same genre. It's a totally different author. This writer is a totally different person and has a completely fresh set of ideas.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit insulting to both authors to be compared in that way.
Exactly. I know that's like classic marketing, but that's the same. It's just, it is insulting. And the other thing that I hate as an author, I'm sure there are at least a handful of authors who can agree with me on this, where I know that when you're not an author, you don't have many examples to go off, but when people say, oh, keep trying, you know that J.K. Rowling got rejected so many times and now she's a millionaire. I hate it when people tell me that. That's the only thing anyone can ever tell me to give me advice when I'm trying to get to someplace with my writing. It's like, is that the only like idea that you can come up with, or the only advice that you can give me? Because there are so many other authors who have walked different paths and have different success stories, and like they could have advice that would actually be more beneficial to what I'm trying to do. And it's like, I just hate that that's the only example that people can give me.
Yeah, I think people were just so wowed by her Cinderella story, you know, where she was the single mom writing things on a napkin in a cafe.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know if that's exactly her story, so if I got that wrong, you know, but I mean, to go from that to being, you know, one of the richest
it's
writers in the world, yeah.
But anyway, that's my thoughts on Harry Potter, and I know that we definitely are going to get some haters from that. But
I hope not. I hope people understand where we're coming from, because it's not malicious.
Yeah, well, I hope they understand.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing but respect for her fans, and, you know, the series itself was something that made an impact on a lot of people, and I think it's great.
Yeah. And like I said, like, you know, like I've definitely read the books and I like them, and I have my own fan fiction, so I'm not saying, oh, they can, like, you can never... Oh, I don't even know where I'm going with that.
I'm rubbing off on you.
Well, anyway, tell us what you think of Harry Potter using the same hashtag on Twitter. That's MGAC Podcast. But tell us if you agree or if you disagree and why, because I would love to hear what you have to think, and I would especially love to hear if you agree. I'm sure that we're not the only ones.
And if you're mad at us, please go easy.
Yeah,
we're fragile.
I promise we're not always going to be hating on people. But anyway, that's just my opinion. And then,
right.
Yeah. And then our last topic is magical manga. So we're going to be talking about some manga that we love. Alright, so, Spencer, do you have any magical manga that you love?
I do. It's sort of difficult to narrow them down because I know that I was doing a few anime-related blogs over the last couple of months, and I was just in awe, I guess, of how how much anime I've watched in my life.
Oh yeah, there is a lot.
Maybe the manga I haven't read as much, but I definitely have my favorites. So I would have to say my number one favorite, and I'm not exactly sure if this counts, so I hope people give me some leeway here. But my absolute favorite is called Fushigi Yugi. I always get nervous when I have to say that because it's not something I say every day. And but yeah, so Fushigi Yugi is also known as the Mysterious Play, and it's written by Watase Yu.
Wow.
And yeah, it's about a girl. I think she's 16 years old. Her name is Miyaka Yuki. And she gets sucked into a book.
Yeah.
And sent to ancient China.
Wow, that's like amazing.
It is. It's really cool. And she becomes their my gosh, it's been like 10 years since I read it. But she becomes their priestess, their Miko.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and she basically is what they're pinning all of their hopes on.
Oh wow. I love it when they come up with these crazy ideas and storylines like that, and they just go a little bit out of the norm, and you always find that in manga.
Well, it's definitely there are a lot of really great messages in the series because her best friend Yui also gets sucked into the book with her. I feel so weird saying that. Sucked into the book. So they get transported into the book, and they actually end up on opposite sides.
Oh wow.
Right, so these two countries are at war, and the main character, she ends up on the good side, of course. And her best friend ends up on the, air quotes, evil side, which
the conflict.
There are a lot of really deep side stories. It's not just the main story. Each character has their own story that's super deep. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone because I really encourage you, if you haven't heard of it, to either go out and read the manga or to watch the anime online or buy the box sets.
Yeah.
Because it's just so good and it's so well done. And it's actually, there's a spin-off too. There's a newer manga series. It's Fushigi Yugi Genbu Kaidan, which is actually, even though it's a spin-off, it's like a prequel.
Oh wow.
So you find out what happened like 50 years before this other girl got sucked into the book.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's really gorgeous. The artwork is gorgeous. The story, it's going to touch your heart. It's going to make you cry. Have Kleenex. It's magical and wonderful. And I'm just blabbering now because I'm just so in love with this artist. Like,
that's
I would
the best
say
thing, when you find the artist and you're like, oh, they're
she was one of the reasons that I wanted to be like a creator. So somebody who does like art or storylines. Yeah, she's a huge inspiration to me.
That's amazing. It sounds like such a good series. I have to go read that.
It's so good. I wish I had extras that I could send you.
I'll find it. So, I'll talk about my favorite magical manga. Oh wait, unless you had another one.
Oh, well, I mean, all the standard ones. You know, I love Madoka and Sailor Moon.
Yes, I love those too. They're amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, Fushigi Yugi is my favorite. I can just rant, I don't know, rant is the wrong word. That's too negative.
Rave.
I can talk about it. Yeah, rave. I can rave about it for hours and just say absolutely nothing while saying everything.
That's amazing. I definitely have to go read that. So, my favorite magical manga is... I always say this wrong. It's Negima, I think, but I used to call it Nejima, so that's etched into my head. Well, the full title, I think, is Maho Sensei Negima, and it's like a magical teacher, I think. Yeah, and so, yeah, magical teacher Negi, and I love this book. So, funnily enough, I had this friend in high school, and we had 2 mangas at the time at our local library, so there was like only 2 to choose from, and it was Fruits Basket, which I also love, and it was Negima. And so she was reading Fruits Basket. That was one she picked up, and then I picked up Negima. And after a time, like we were friends since primary school. Well, that's like the first kind of school. I think it's different over in the US. But after we graduated, we found out that we both liked to read manga, which we didn't realize beforehand, and we both realized that we were both reading these manga series from the library. And so what we did was we switched manga series, and then we ended up falling in love with the other one as well. So we were both reading them together. But anyway, the first one that I picked was Negima, and it's about a child teacher. So he's 10 years old, and he is in the magical world, and they tell him, oh, you have a mission to become like a proper wizard, and you have to go teach at this all-girls school, and that's your mission. And he goes, oh, okay. And he's only 10 years old, and he's got to like teach a class of 30 or like 30 girls. And so he goes, and all the girls are older than him, like they're all 16 or something. And so he goes there, and he has like a mentor that's there with him, and he basically has to keep the fact that he's a wizard a secret, or else he'll get exposed and lose all of his credentials and all that. So, of course, the first day he's there, he exposes himself to this girl, and luckily she keeps his secret. And as the year goes on, everyone eventually finds out that he's a wizard one way or another, and they end up going to this magical battle and to the magical world, which is on Mars, and they go there, and they all have this really cool thing where when you make a pact or like a pacto with this wizard, you get like a special power, and so he can use the girls to fight for him, and they all have these magical powers that they can use. And so like the best thing about reading through was finding out what each girl's unique power was going to be, because she doesn't get to choose. It just sort of happens based on their personality, which was really cool. Like there was one girl, she had like an encyclopedia, and she could look up anything in this book, this magical book that she had, and I thought that was so cool. And so yeah, that's like my favorite series. It's very fun and humorous and magical, and like where they go with all the magic stuff is just so fun. Like they do all sorts of cool stuff. So yeah, I highly recommend that one, and it's quite long, but it's good. Yeah, it's really good. And then my favorite part is probably the fact that the writing style or the art style, it gets way better as the series progresses, as manga artists usually get better. So like by the time you reach the end, it's improved so much, it just looks amazing. So yeah, that's my recommendation. And
you know, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but I haven't watched it myself.
Yeah.
But based on your description of Negima, I think that you would really like Mary and the Witch's Flower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a movie. It just came out. When did they release it? They released it in the US this January.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's an anime, and it's about this girl who she follows a cat into the forest and discovers a broomstick and a rare plant that blossoms once every 7 years. And from what I gather, it sort of takes her off to like this witch school.
Oh wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't watched it, but I watched the trailer and I've read the synopsis because I do want to watch it. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't available for rent when I went for it. So.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna watch it. That sounds like really good.
Yeah, I think you'll really like it.
And another side note, real quick, is that with Negima, if you're gonna read it, like I highly recommend reading the manga and not watching the anime, because there's a few different types of the anime. Like they did it a few different ways, a few different times, and I've watched most of them, and I do not think that they live up to the books. I think that they tend to go off the original storyline, and they're not very good, and the art style doesn't do it justice. I just think the books are way better, but that's just me.
Okay.
Yeah. So my other question, which I thought we could talk about, was, does manga actually count as literature? Which, in my opinion, yes, but I'm sure a lot of people would disagree. Like, no, it's like a comic book. So what do you think?
I think it does, because the manga artists, they write the story themselves. They do a lot of planning. A lot of work goes into it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sound so embarrassing, but back when I was in 8th grade, I actually fought to do a book report on a manga.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if my teacher went for that, but he was a really cool guy, and if I'm not mistaken, he let me do it as extra credit.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so I definitely think it counts as literature because they actually, I feel, do more work than the standard author.
Yeah.
Because they're also doing the artwork, and it's just, I know that they work under really tight deadlines.
Oh, yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, I actually wanted to be a mangaka when I was in high school for a little bit, because I like to draw, but I was not that good, so that quickly did not work.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that the drawing skill is a big deal. Again, nobody come for me. But there's this one manga, and it was my favorite, and that's awful because I can't remember what it's called right now. I swear, I've been so nervous through this whole thing. I got this frog in my throat, and my brain stopped working.
But you're doing great for your first episode.
I hope I get better as we continue to record, so that I don't say and then start choking on my saliva.
I've said like so many times, you probably are so sick of it.
But unless I'm confused, the manga I'm thinking of, it's called Wallflower in English. In Japanese, it's Yamato Nadeshiko Shichihenge.
Oh wow, that's a mouthful.
And it's sort of like, I guess it's a romance, but it's also kind of a horror because she's spooky and she likes spooky things like skeletons and ghosts and horror movies and blood.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so cool.
It is. And the story is so good. I mean, when I first read it, and I am ashamed to admit this, but I was actually put off by the artwork.
That's happened to me a few times. That's why I didn't read Fruits Basket, because at the start, the artwork did not look very good, but it got better.
Story, right? The story is everything. And so one of my friends said, this is my favorite manga. I really want you to read it. Here you go. And I just burned through her set. I mean, the story was so phenomenal, and it sort of speaks to like self-love and confidence and being true to yourself.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was also into horror stuff, so I felt really close to the character in my heart.
Yeah.
The artwork is not fabulous. It doesn't really get any better throughout the series. And I think the author, the mangaka, the manga artist, oh my gosh, I'm so flustered. The artist, she actually makes notes like, oh, my editor rejected this so many times, and they said I have to improve on my artwork.
Wow.
Yeah, but even though her drawing style is maybe a little bit rough, it always perfectly communicates what she's trying to get across to the reader.
Well, that's like a good thing. I think that actually was a great example, because it really like illustrates that the story does carry a lot more merit than the artwork. Like, obviously both are equally important, but because the storyline is the story and it serves, that probably does like validate the argument that manga is literature. So yeah.
So tell us what you think.
Yeah, tell us what you think. Yeah, using the hashtag MGAC podcast. Oh gosh. One day we're gonna get that and it's gonna sound way better. Alright, so I think that was all we had to talk about today. Don't come for us.
Yes, please don't add us if it's anything angry.
But if you enjoyed this episode, then definitely subscribe, because we will be doing way more and we'll be always talking about different fun things.
And hopefully we'll be more prepared next time.
Yeah.
So let me just take this moment real quick to just say I'm sorry that I was a mess throughout this podcast. I'm sorry to everyone whose books and art I talked about, because I didn't do you all justice. And let me just explain that this is because Pagan and I spent, what was it, like an hour?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what was going wrong. The program that we paid for to record our podcast, it wasn't working. We ended up trying a few different things, nothing worked. And in the end, Pagan came through in the clutch, and she figured something out, so that's why we're here.
Yeah, yay! But we'll try and be more prepared for next time.
Yeah, so be a little forgiving, and we're just so grateful that you listened to the end of this garbage fire.
That you didn't like leave after we started batting out Harry Potter. Yeah, that's a risky topic. I'm gonna like tell you where you can find us, just so that if you decide that you want to stalk us a bit more, you can. So you can find me, and I didn't even write down which handles these were, so that's gonna be awesome. I think my Twitter handle, is capital Pagan, capital Malcolm, and that's PAGAN MALCOLM. So you can find me on Twitter there. You can also find me on Facebook at author, that's capital author, and then capital PM. And then you can also find me on Instagram at all lowercase p.s.malcolm. So I'll put that in the show notes as well. But yeah, if you want to come stalky stalk or just yell at me for hating on Harry Potter, then come over there. And then you can find Spencer at her handles.
And I'm super generic, so all of my handles are at all lowercase, right? Spencer Hoshino.
Awesome. I did not even do that when I set up mine. I was like, oh, I'll just do it this way. And now I can't change them. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next time.
Yeah, definitely tune in. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.